What's up, family? Give this video a big thumbs up. Welcome back to the channel, bringing you with the real, the raw, and unfiltered takes on everything trending right now. So today's topic, a story about power, responsibility, and why you got to be careful in every step of your professional life, because in this world, it takes one accusation to tear everything down. So let's get into it.
Time scheme with a subordinate, and now he is speaking alongside his attorney right now. Let's listen in.
Stuff we can't tell you because we are anticipating litigation in the civil context, but there is a lot we want to tell you to set the record straight, because there's a lot out there in the media that is just not correct or is only telling half of the story, and that's why we called this press conference. So thank you for being here so that we can set the record straight as best we can. Jeff Madry started off in the NYPD as a traffic agent. In his over 34 years with the NYPD, he worked himself up from traffic agent to police officer to sergeant to lieutenant, all the way up to the highest ranking uniformed member of the NYPD, Chief of Department. That was about 2 years ago. He's credited for saving this city during the George Floyd riots. In the last 2 years as Chief of Department, he's driven down violent crimes, shootings, homicides. Through his work in supervising the operations of the approximately 33,500 uniformed police personnel of this city. He's a beloved member of every community he served, community he lives in, and if you ask any cop, they'll tell you he's a cop's cop. Last Friday, December 20th, there was a complaint filed in the Office of Employment Opportunities setting forth certain allegations by a Lieutenant Quatisha Epps against Chief Madry. Those allegations included sexual abuse, taking advantage of her fragile situation, and using overtime to pay for sexual favors. We can tell you now, those allegations are a lie. They're not true. We deny every aspect of them. We'll tell you right now that Lieutenant Epps, since October of this year, has been under investigation by the Internal Affairs Bureau of the NYPD for putting in for overtime she never completed.
Jeez.
So she's under investigation for stealing time and putting in for overtime that she never worked. Now, Lieutenant Epps got caught with her hand in the cookie jar and is trying to deflect her wrongdoing by making these allegations against Chief Madry in the hopes that she'll get away with part or all of her scheme. However, the truth is, Lieutenant Epps had a consensual adult relationship, albeit for a short time, with Jeff. And we have tons of evidence by way of text messages, photographs, videos, phone records, and X-rated and racy videos and photographs from Lieutenant Epps, who is a professed swinger.
Ooh, they got receipts.
And we have all this evidence because she sent it to Chief Marjorie in her attempts to have him begin a relationship with her. Now,
Now, let's pause for a minute. This is a man who gave 34 years of his life to public service. Yet, with one accusation, his career was derailed. He's already stepped down from his position as chief of department, despite the overwhelming evidence in his favor. Why? Because in a court of public opinion, you're guilty until proven innocent, even though we know in law enforcement and when it comes to the justice system, it's actually innocent until proven guilty. But the situation teaches us a few hard truths, right? First, never mix business with pleasure. Protect the bag at all costs, or money. And second, always keep your receipts. You know, messages, emails, and everything. And you never know when someone might twist the narrative to save their own skin, right? So the story doesn't end there. The woman involved wasn't alone in trying to take Marjorie down. A captain named Gabrielle Walls, another disgruntled employee, suddenly amended her own complaint to include Marjorie, and then it's a pattern here. If you guys don't get what I'm saying, and success breeds jealousy when you're at the top, and everyone's looking for a way to bring you down. So, at the end of the day, I just find this very mind-boggling. But let's continue.
The overtime aspect of this case, we want to set the record straight so that everyone understands how overtime works in the NYPD. There is a system of checks and balances in place so that overtime can't be stolen. But let me tell you right now, Chief Marjorie is not a part of that checks and balance system. Chief Marjorie manages the day-to-day operations of 33,500 police officers in their fight on crime. Okay? Now, when a police officer or a member of the NYPD puts in for overtime, they have to fill out what's called a slip.
This is how to get in shape fast.
If you want to drop.
But I just find it mind-boggling that at the end of the day, you accuse, and I have to sign into my YouTube, that's why the ad popped up. But you accuse, but then you don't hold yourself responsible for what you do and make sure you going about things the right way before you so-called try to hold somebody else accountable. Just very strange to me.
That slip has to be signed by a supervisor. That supervisor is never a chief. There are people within chiefs' offices who are tasked with making sure that slips are appropriate and have to be approved. And that's where you see the bottom where they sign it. And here is the back of it, where a commanding officer has to approve it. Jeff had a commanding officer of the chief of department's office. He is not the commanding officer. Okay? Jeff never approves, assigns, or gives overtime.
And just to add a little bit more context, and for you guys who have been watching this long, I appreciate you for rocking with me. Here's what went down, if you guys don't get the gist of it. A complaint was filed against Chief Marjorie, or Marjorie, the guy that's standing there with the black suit, or the guy you can see down below in the banner of this video, by Lieutenant Quita Epps, right? She accused him of sexual misconduct, claiming he abused his power to exfoliate her vulnerable state. Sounds serious, right? But here's the twist. Epps is currently under investigation herself for falsifying overtime records. So the woman made over $200,000 in overtime in 1 year on top of her base salary. And once the investigation started closing in, she shifted the narrative to take the heat off herself, basically trying to come at Chief Magistrate, as you see him right there, standing in the black suit. So I don't know. This story is just a man who's a cop credited with handling a George Floyd protest, as you guys heard. But we've seen time again that no amount of accomplishments can save you when someone decides to pull the rug up from under you, right? And discredit you and basically tarnish your reputation, even if it's a lie, just based off accusation and just the sentiment, the extreme sentiment of the thing that the accuser is accusing someone else of. In this case, Chief Magistrate, he is being accused of something so extreme that he already stepped down. Let's make that clear. He's former chief now. He was actively being a chief until her accusations made him, and they already had to force him to automatically resign. But let's continue.
Lots of people in the chief of department's office made overtime because they legitimately worked it. In fact, last year, there were 415 members of the NYPD that made over $100,000 in overtime. Okay? If there is an issue with how that's billed or approved, that's not Jeff's responsibility. Now, Lieutenant Epps in 2023 made about $200,000 in overtime. And she knew she was being investigated. She applied to retire on December 16th. That same day, she attended the chief of department's Christmas party along with 40 of her colleagues, where she was smiling and thanking everyone for the cordial, congenial work environment they had. She even texted that night to the chief her gratitude. 2 days later, the Internal Affairs...
So you give gratitude to someone that you're accusing of basically taking advantage of your vulnerability, and you're saying something so heinous, accusing them and basically tarnishing everything they've done, derailing their whole career due to you basically accusing him of sexual misconduct. But then in the ceremony not too long ago, you thank him for the things he done working along with you when it comes to handling business as far as your job and your success. Strange. Run that back a little bit.
To the chief, her gratitude for the cordial, congenial work environment they had. She even texted that night to the chief her gratitude. 2 days later, the Internal Affairs Bureau, we believe...
How do you think someone that treated you horrible? Well, anyway, let's continue.
Suspended her for the issue with her overtime, which the decision to suspend her had nothing to do with Chief Magistrate. He didn't have a hand in it or a decision. And now she claims she was suspended in retaliation for a complaint. But guess what? The complaint was 2 days later. So I'm not sure what complaint she's referring to. But he had nothing to do with her suspension. And we...
See, this is what bothers me. See, people like this that falsely accuse and can't substantiate their point, they should be held accountable the same way you basically made a harsh, daunting accusation to basically derail someone's whole career. You should be held accountable for you should be held accountable to the extremest extent, the same way you basically tarnished this individual reputation and derailed their career. So you should be held to the same extremism when it comes to you being a liar. But anyway, let's continue.
We know that her suspension for improperly putting in for overtime predates any allegations that she has against the chief. We know she's being investigated for January, February, March, April, May of 2023. Her allegations start in June.
It's hard to stay humble.
Excuse the ads, family, but man, it's going on a year, roughly 2 years ago. She's being investigated, so this wasn't something that just happened overnight, obviously, right? So let's go.
So, even though she claims retaliation for a complaint, she filed a complaint on December 20th. And it was co-signed by the same lawyer who in the past has unsuccessfully sued Jeff for a plaintiff named Tabitha Foster. Halfway through the Tabitha Foster case, Attorney Sanders ditched his client and ran for the hills. She got other attorneys, but that case was dismissed, and she now has to pay costs for bringing her meritless case.
This is wild.
Perhaps that lawyer had something to do with Lieutenant Epps' sudden about face. I don't know, but time will tell, because we are prepared to litigate every issue. Now, for those of you who've seen in the media that Jeff somehow was banished to Georgia by his wife, we're not in Georgia, we're in New York. Jeff is here. And why do I bring that up? I bring that up because it seems like writing stories is more important than the truth. And somehow reporters think it's okay to call Jeff a sexual predator. Nothing is further from the truth. He has never hurt or harmed anyone in his life. And that Tabitha Foster case had no legal merit, and although it took 6 years, was completely dismissed. And that's the only other legal action involving allegations of any type of sexual conduct. The outpouring of support from the community has been overwhelming, the communities he used to serve. Yet others are deciding to pour onto the false allegations. There's a Captain Gabrielle Walls who's been suing the New York Police Department for some months now. She's a captain. And she decided, and in her filings prior to current, never mentioned a single word about Chief Madry. But she recently amended her complaint, and her attorney said, we're adding Chief Madry and former Commissioner Caban.
So it's the Me Too movement. Okay, since she has been, the other woman, she has been suing the New York Police Department multiple times. Now she see that Chief Madry is basically being accused by uh, his situation with Miss Epps. Now she's like, okay, let's add a minute. Let's fix my accusation or my lawsuit or whatever towards NYPD, the New York Police Department. Let's add him in there so things can get more sticky, so I can get eventually financial gain. And actually, it seems like the person that's adding herself into this whole accusation, when it only involves two people, and now they're basically trying to insert themselves into this allegation, that have been having a history of suing the NYPD for a financial gain or some type of financial reimbursement for whatever treatment they feel like they have got. Now they like, okay, to make things stick and basically throw something on the wall so it sticks and substantiates their point to why they should be compensated for the things that they went through allegedly, because it has to play out in the courts. Let's put his name in there. So she basically fixed her lawsuit or whatever to sue the NYPD and added Chief Madry in it. So, wow.
To get attention. And now she believes.
Yeah, to bring more visibility to her suing the NYPD. So she added his name into it. And I agree. It could be an attention tactic or attention move strategy.
She can call him a sexual predator. We don't think so. Chief Madry never worked with Walls. He only ran into her a few times, mostly at Christmas parties where she was there with her husband. Seems she's upset that she's not been promoted, but there may be other people who are better qualified. It may be that she's undeserving. We don't know. But what we do know is that Jeff has never laid a finger on her or even looked at her the wrong way. Now, Jeff resigned and retired upon hearing of this last meritless complaint because he's been through this before. The city has enough going on without these allegations swirling around the chief of department. He's given 34 years of his life to the NYPD.
All right, we're going to leave it there. So now, not only did initially the whole allegation and the things started with Chief Madry, him, as you guys can see with the suit, and Lieutenant Quita Epps. Now Walls, this other woman, decides to insert herself into the chat. Basically because she feels as though it will be more effective if she adds her part, if she adds Chief Jeffrey into her suing NYPD. So now, where does this leave us? Basically, Chief Madry, he has to fight back. So now he's ready to clear his name and expose the lies, but this entire ordeal serves a warning for all of us. Be mindful of the company that you keep, especially in the workplace. In this digital age, your entire legacy can crumble with one false accusation. So I'll leave it there, folks. Hope you guys got some value from it. Give this video a big thumbs up. On that note, family, peace.